What's up, guys? This is Andrew Smerslik with Combat Training, here with my lovely lady, Ashley. We're going to give you a couples review on The Fight at Tactical Response. This is a force-on-force class where you are put through different scenarios that you may encounter. All the scenarios have answers to them. They're not trying to make you fail in any way. Like, they help you out with stuff as you go along. Now, with this, too, I have to mention there's a lot of things we can't say because we will ruin the class for you. If we do, you will not get out of it what you need to get out of it, okay? I also need to say this, to me, is the greatest class ever created in the history of the universe forever. Like, that you learn so much. If you were like, I don't want to take training classes, hey, take this one at least. Take this one. Take this one. And the reason why I say this is the greatest class is because after you take this class, you'll want to go take all the other classes that are out there. Now, we got some points we were just talking about that we want to hit with you. Number one, this is not a hardware class, this is a software class. That's something you said at the beginning. What I mean by that is that it's not about the hardware as in the guns, the medical stuff, or anything like that. This is about your mind, all right? You'll learn a lot about yourself in this class. Like one thing we were just mentioning is it's an ego check, right?
Yeah.
So something we always talk about is how people always look at, like, oh, well, this happened, I do this. They always create the best case scenario in their head of what will happen. Kind of like the saying, like James Yeager says, that you will not rise to the occasion. You will fall to the level of training that you have mastered. All right. And that's something you see right now in this class too. I can full on say I got the tunnel vision. I got the auditory exclusion. Like, for myself, super stressful. Like, honestly, with my real firefights that I was in Afghanistan and times where like I was about to shoot someone in Yemen and stuff like that, this to me was way more stressful because kind of walking into it, it was like, you knew something was about to happen every time, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that too, you're alone, right? You're alone, and it's up close and personal. So, what did you have happen with the stress? Did you get the auditory exclusion too?
I wouldn't say I got the auditory exclusion, but I definitely got the
memory thing?
Memory thing, yeah. Like, I'd walk out of a scenario, I'd have no idea what just happened. Like, someone would tell me, you did this, and I'd be like, what? Like, why did I do that?
Yeah, like, you get the real stress that you get in a gunfight. Like,
yeah.
I mean, like my real firefights, they're honestly pretty easy. Like, just to say, because we had the odds in our favor, right? And here you don't. It's like, it's on you to figure it out.
Yeah.
I know, did you get tunnel vision? Did you experience that at all? Like, were you focused on that one thing?
I couldn't tell you because just the memory of it, I'd like walk out and I'd be like, wow.
Yeah, but like walking out of the scenario, the instructor will always give you a couple points of what happened, what you could have done a little bit better. Now, and that's one thing too, is like, there is an answer in each scenario, right? Or at least there's stuff that you could have done better. Like, they don't want you to fail a scenario. Deliberately, there are pieces in there that they put there for you. Okay, so it's not like you're walking to any one of them and you're just going to fail. Yeah. Now, one thing that we're talking about too is like with the instructor there during the scenario, is that like when you do start, kind of stalling in what you should be doing next, they'll kind of guide you along, right?
Yeah, like they push the scenario along without being like ending in being like, oh, you should have done this. Like, they put you in there and try to get your like mind moving or your body moving. So for example, like one problem I learned about myself is when I'm under pressure, I just go completely silent. Like, I will just not talk. I'll just be like,
right? And I mean, think about how often at the range are you yelling at the piece of paper,
yeah.
right?
But that showed me that I need to practice that a lot more because on my own, I'll just freeze.
And it had been a while since we had done fighting pistol where you're drawing and yelling stop every time. So that was like something that we actively incorporate into our dry practice and at the range.
Yeah.
Too. Let's see. Speaking, positioning, right?
Yeah, that's another thing that I learned about
Situational
myself.
awareness. Yeah, that I had the same thing.
I'll easily just like back up into a corner because I'm just freaking out and like I'm frozen. I'm just standing in the corner during the scenario, and like I learned that I need to move things along.
Yeah.
I can't just freeze.
Yeah, and like, going into it, like, they say on the website even, it's an ego check, right? There are some scenarios where, like, personally, I'm like, I look back on it, it still hurts. I'm like, why did I do that, right? But it's a learning experience. That's where you're supposed to learn, right? And now you can go back, and as they say, you got a Rolodex of different scenarios and things happening. You can think back, well, if this happens, this could be a really good answer, or this could be a really good answer, but for sure don't do this other thing, right? Because that did not work last time. 911 calls, right? Practicing that, because, under stress, it's hard to talk. Sometimes you say the wrong things, and I know 911 calls was something that even you watched back on this recent live stream a couple weeks ago, some of the role players were talking about it, and were people screw up on the 911 calls a lot. So practicing talking on the phone with 911 was a huge thing.
Yeah.
That we got out
and
of
just learning the importance of like knowing where you are and being able to articulate that. Because, for example, like they wrote the address to tactical response up on the board at the beginning of the day. I did not remember it ever.
Yeah, and under stress too, it makes it harder. So you learn a lot about what you need to work on, right? The scenarios, it kind of felt like they built on each other. I don't know exactly the structure to how they put those scenarios together, if they're supposed to build on one another, but I did, like, when I would mess up one thing, I'd try to be better at that. Then being better at that, I would encounter a new problem that I hadn't thought about yet. You get that too?
Yeah, definitely.
And then the after action reviews, that was huge. So in this class, like, they don't ever be like you should have done this or you should have done that or something like that. Like they're like in no way like were they demeaning or anything, which is really refreshing. Because in the Marine Corps, they totally fucking do that. But
well, I liked how like, for example, there were some scenarios where I walked out, I was like, yeah, I killed it, and then like I'd hear what someone else did, and I'm like, yeah, that would have been better. Maybe I didn't really do that great.
I had a couple where I thought I was like totally nailed it, and then be like, all right, guys, so when this happened, did we have to do this thing, or something like that, and then I'd be like, oh, and like, could we have just done this,
Yeah.
Oh man, so even when you do well in a scenario, you still learn, and you still find better answers too.
Yeah.
And then
I feel like the biggest thing with this class, like we said in immediate action medical, is like you leave inspired, like just you're like, I need to get better at this, I need to learn this, you just leave wanting more, just like inspired and like
absolutely. And the cool thing too is after you do the class, you can become a role player. So like all our role players had previously done the class, so now they're learning not just from getting one rep through a scenario, but watching everyone else come through the scenario. So if you imagine the value of watching, like in real time, what people do in these situations, like that's super cool. I really, really want to be a role player. I also want to just take that same class again, and the fight continues as well. But yeah, that to me is super cool. So it's the closest thing you can get to actually being in a gunfight. So, it's like what Prepper Smuggler Outdoor, Jacob Beach was talking about, is that the fight is like the test, right? So, taking like fighting pistol and immediate action medical was like studying for the test, which was the fight. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, would you say out of everything you've done so far, that's your favorite also?
Yeah, by far, definitely.
Yeah, me too. And it's funny too, because like lots of people they always want to skip the medical class. I'm like, all right, well, just go take the fight. You'll want to take it after that.
Yeah. You want to take everything after the fight.
Yeah. Because anytime I talk to anyone about training, I'm like, dude, you need to get up to actual response and take the fight. So.
Yeah. It just shows you the importance of, like, other, like, little things, too, of, like, am I carrying in a way that I can actually get to my gun fast, for example? Like, there's a lot of gimmicky women's products out there. And I'm like, if I had to use this thigh holster and take the fight during it, I'd be screwed.
Yeah.
Or I just had it in my purse, and I'm like,
But, yeah. Super awesome class. Like, I can't recommend it enough. Super thankful that they have that, and that those instructors do such a damn good job, and the role players too, being there and putting in that time. I also say too, like, after, you know, like any like different training I've done with that, the constant adrenaline dumps you get in that class, like, I slept like a damn baby every night. It's funny, you spend like 5 minutes in a scenario, and then after that you're like, oh, I'm exhausted. So, anyways, I think that's about it. I'd love to talk about it forever, but then I'd end up taking stuff away from the class that
the beans.
you need to get. Anytime I talk to other tactical response alumni who've taken the class too, they say the same damn thing. So get your asses up there, take the fight, and we'll be back for it again too after the baby's born sometime. All right, guys. Take care. Thank you for watching, and remember that training saves lives.